Bill, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day. Much appreciated. I know you've been busy with the Marlins and everything going on with them, but I think everybody here is very nostalgic about 2004 and what it was like to be here and go through that. Looking back on it, let's first talk about when you got here in 2003. What did you know about Boston? What did you know about the area? And what were your expectations? I knew you played for the Bourne Braves down in the Cape League, but what was your feeling coming into this situation?
Well, I knew, anytime you go to like a big market team, that the team's going to be pretty competitive. And I think that going in is that's your first thought is like, we got a shot here of playing for something. And that's always a great feeling because, you get around that July mark and you start making some trades and you kind of want to be those guys that are taking in players instead of shedding. So I think the first thought was, man, I'm with somebody, a group that's going to be fighting for maybe a wild card or a division, and that's all you can ask for. After that, it's up to the group in that clubhouse to put it all together. But with Theo and putting that group together there in 03 and then adding in 04 was pretty spectacular because first off, to be able to pinpoint that talent that all works together, and then on top of that, to have the right mentality, the guys that could handle the type of pressure that it is to be playing in that division and to handle the everyday expectations of being a Red Sox. So that was really a spectacular way of evaluation and putting us together and letting us go get them.
And that 2003 team, Bill, offensively was such a juggernaut. And you were obviously the batting champion of the American League with a 326 average. What did it mean to you at that point in your career to be the batting champion?
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Jeff Pentland, who, when I was with the Cubs, unfortunately I got hurt and introduced me kind of like a different philosophy. And I was just starting out to kind of, get better at, there was a shelf life of what I was doing before, and then getting better and progressing at what Jeff was teaching me. But I was just hurt. I just wasn't strong enough to fulfill that. And to be able to fulfill what Jeff had been teaching the whole time to me was awesome. And that's what meant a lot to me, is because hitting's so damn difficult now, being a hitting coach and, trying to teach it and help people change some body movements and all that. It's just damn hard, and the patience and, and sometimes things like this happen in other teams and then people are let go, and, with my coaching thing now, I've seen that happen, where the guy finally gets it, or, he puts everything together. And so having that for that year was really almost a big thank you to him. And it was just a special time. It was to be able to be counted on and leaned upon in a lineup is always a good feeling. And that year I felt like I had crossed over a little bit on being able to drive in runs more than just being an on-base guy and move the ball around and move runners and bunt and all that kind of good stuff. That driving in runs was kind of the next step and some maturity of being reliable.
Well, you certainly drove in a lot of runs on July 29th of that year. I remember sitting down with you and doing a feature with you for our Red Sox show not too long after the two grand slams. What do you remember about that night? What was it like to be and kind of be on top of the world as the first player in Major League history ever to hit grand slams from each side of the plate?
Yeah, really special evening. It really the very first homer off Springer. I think Springer pretty much owned me, but at one point I was like, man, I'm going to just go all in on this ball in, because that's where most of my outs, you'd come in late on me, and I sold out there. So I was just happy to get a hit off Springer because I feel like, he had a lot of success. So that was a good start. But then, with Folky and hitting it, you just start just trying to battle and do your job. It's kind of like with the bases loaded, it's a free shot to try and drive the ball in the gap because you're just trying to get that sac fly. And sometimes when you keep things simple and things work out, and with Folky and hitting play with him in the San Francisco Giants organization, and before the game we said hello to each other with Doug Mirabelli, and Dougie's like, man, that Folky, he loves his changeup, and so Folky was, it's kind of in the back of your mind that that's going to come up at some point. So, very fortunate that I had enough barrel on it, and then with Powell, this sucker owned me from Cape Cod on. Man, I never was very successful off of him, and I was kind of looking heater, and he threw a changeup, and it was down enough, and I was able to have enough length to drive it out. So, really fortunate night, and I didn't know I was the first person in Major League Baseball to ever do that, and basically I'm just happy that we won the game, and you just turn the page the next day. But pretty historic, pretty cool bats. A buddy just sent me the other day. He's up there in Cooperstown, just sent me the bats, and it's pretty awesome. You just never know how it's going to go.
Yeah, it kind of to follow that up too. How much did that season, Bill, with everything that you guys went through as a team? You talked about the lineup and then the addition of Folk and Schilling. How much did that propel you to what you were able to do as a group in 2004, especially now looking back on it with the loss of Tim Wakefield, who was such, the man that was on the biggest stage in the ALCS against Boone, and then to turn it around and win it at Yankee Stadium? How much did 03 and that heartbreak, the lowest of lows, propel you to what you guys did in 04?
I think that whole season helped. And then the last part was icing on the cake because, we're always competing against the best teams and trying to figure out, where the measuring stick is for us as a group, and to know that we could really compete with the heavyweights in Major League Baseball, Yankees being one of them. I think gave us a lot of confidence, and then to add more pieces to that, just stacked that we were good enough and we could do this, and it propelled us to, I think, have some sustainability to get through that 3-0 stretch there, and believe in ourselves, and take that the cliche one pitch or one game at a time, and take the momentum back.
Bill, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of one of your most famous games in which you hit the walk-off home run against Mariano Rivera, and that, of course, included the Alex Rodriguez, Jason Varitek brawl, and the brawl between the two teams. I was looking back at that game and did remember that there was a rain delay before the game started, and it took your team convincing your manager, Terry Francona, to call the umpires to let them know that you wanted to play that game because there was a chance that it wasn't going to be played because of the field conditions. What do you remember about the conversation among the players that day about wanting to play?
Well, I think we're always, you never want to play a day-night doubleheader. I think that's the first thing that comes to my mind, but, if you can play the game, and if you're already there 2+ or whatever it was, you just play it and get it going. So I think the guys that the Johnny Damons, the Pedros, the Marabellis, the Wakefields, the Schillings, I'm sure they took a consensus amongst us, and we're always ready to go. And that was a juggernaut group of talented guys, and like I said before, the mentality that we never shied away from much, and it was a those 2 seasons were incredible because, going into games, you could feel like pretty dominant at times. And that's an incredible feeling at a major league level that your team could be that good. But yeah, it was just a matter of, let's get it on and get it going. But incredible day, you never know how things are going to work out. And again, fortunately, shut my eyes at the right time against, Hall of Famer. So it worked out.
Bill, you were kind of that, I don't want to say quiet guy. I say this with all due respect because you had so many loud people on that team. What was that game like going back? Because a lot of your teammates, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see at the 04 reunion when a lot of guys came in here. They were all pointing to that game and circling it, that was maybe the liftoff for you guys to get going that season. What do you remember about the hit by pitch and then all of a sudden seeing Tech do what he did? And then coming up with, like you said, when you close your eyes, I doubt that was the case, but when you had the game-winning hit off Mariano.
Yeah, I thought for sure you guys were going to say you saw me hiding behind Big Papi on the brawl. That's probably where I was, letting him lead. But, it's just a crazy, it's just unfortunate. I think Bronson hit A-Rod with a breaking ball or something, and I think he was just trying to bully him a little bit. And, Bronson's a young guy at the time, he's just trying to survive and he's going up against one of the powerhouses, A-Rod. So, so that was kind of ridiculous. I get it that the Pedro stuff probably stirred things up prior to or throughout, the history of, but for Bronson, that's, so I'm happy that Tech and, we had to stand up for that because that was just not, probably the right time for that kind of stuff. But, I'm glad it ended the way it did. We needed that win. And again, measuring stick, are we capable? Can we compete? Can we beat? Can we be consistent on beating good teams and then also beating bad teams? And if that's the one that's circled, that's pretty cool because, you're always trying to help your team without a doubt. And to be able to do that in that kind of grand fashion, like I said, against the Hall of Famers, pretty damn incredible. It's not to be taken lightly on my end. It's very fortunate because he's so dominant.
And Bill, you had success against Mariano Rivera, though, in your career. You hit 455 against him. I read that you used a different bat when you went up against Mariano Rivera, that it was a little bit lighter, the one you used against him, and you choked up on it a little bit more. What prompted you to make that adjustment to go up against the Hall of Fame pitcher Mariano?
I think that 455, dude, because there's probably about, like 4 broken bats in there that are like these little loopers, that just are dropping in. So, yeah, I was just trying to compete with that cutter in because I was just hoping he wouldn't have enough strikes inside. And like I said, a lot of people finished me off in. That was kind of if there was a hole, there was some hole there for me to defend. And his ball was such a late break and so heavy. And so I was just trying to defend myself really and survive. And it wasn't really a matter of me trying to dominate him or anything. It was just really to take on whatever situation it was at the time and try and be successful. But yeah, I needed all the help I can get. Sometimes you got to level the playing field, but still I was not at a level playing field facing him with a shorter bat or a lighter bat and choking up. You're never really at a level playing field against a competitor and a guy with that type of stuff. So.
Well, let's fast forward here. Thanks for joining us again, Bill. We'll get you out of here in just a couple of minutes, but I want to ask you about flash forward to the ALCS down 3-love. And, most people know it as the Dave Roberts steal, but Millar's the one who says that he got the walk. We know that, right? That was his MO. Don't forget that, Roche. Don't forget that. I got that walk, and then I got been trying for.
Beautiful.
You beat Rivera again with that one, and that looked like that was what you said, just battling and trying to stay within yourself and go right up the middle with the pitch. What do you remember about that game and about that moment with everything on the line where you guys, again, took off after that game winner?
Yeah, it's a simplified kind of deal. As soon as Roberts gets on, I'm in the mode of taking pitches to let him steal, because that's what he's out there to do, and then once he gets on second, I'm basically trying to move him over ish. Like that's where I went to first is just get him to third so somebody could drive him in, sac fly or base hit or whatever. So I just tried to keep things simple as possible, and sometimes when your heart's in the right spot, you get rewarded, and for some unknown reason, he left that cutter out over, and we were very fortunate that we had such great at bats against him all prior last, like the 03 season and the 04 season, that he started kind of doing some different things and not just staying in with that cutter, and his accuracy wasn't as great as it was in from trying to backdoor that thing, or maybe he just snapped it off where he had an arm side miss, but it was up out over, and I didn't miss it. It's just one of those fortunate things that you just hope you don't miss your pitch. And that's, like growing up as a big leaguer, you're like, oh God, he only got one pitch to that whole at bat and he hit it. And that was like what you dream about is not missing that pitch and being successful. So
what do you remember most about when it was all said and done, Bill? Looking back on that, was it the parade where guys say that's where it really sunk in with the amount of people coming home from the airport in St. Louis after what you guys were able to do, and being in that locker room with that group, with those, the idiots, but you guys weren't idiots, but Johnny Damon and Millar and just the brash, everything. What do you remember most when people say to you 2004 and ending that curse?
I actually remember having 2 outs and standing on the field in St. Louis the most, because it was my hometown. The last time I was ever at a World Series was '82, I believe, when the Cardinals walked it off in Game 7. I was in the nosebleeds with my dad, and being able to stand on the field, my parents there, and being in another World Series since that time, or being at a World Series, and here I'm playing in it, and we're about to break this curse, and standing there and looking at the stadium and hearing the Red Sox fans there before that last pitch and that last out was what I keep. And to be able to win that at home is so weird, but really cool all at the same time. It's forever etched on that moment of just standing there and looking around and not like, this is unbelievable. We're actually doing this. And then, which I should have been paying attention a little bit more. I look over to the first base dugout, and I see Drew Barrymore and the other actor,
Jimmy Fallon, right?
Yeah, Jimmy. They're filming the last thing of the movie, Fever Pitch. And then, at the end of the game, everybody's running in the pile, and I'm hugging, and I'm like, whoop. And I'm like, who? And who's skinny? And I look up, and it's Jimmy. Because he didn't feel like a major league, everybody's like all burly. And
I remember him and Drew Barrymore making out at first base. And I'm like, what's we're trying to get interviews, and everyone's going crazy. And they're like,
incredible.
Okay.
It was so cool. I love that moment.
That and Johnny Pesky was great, and the parade, everything was awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Amazing.
Final thing for me, Bill, before we let you go, you just got a chance to see this Red Sox team when they were in Miami. What were your takeaways about the group that they have this year?
Well, it looks very competitive, back in the old days. So, you always have your hands full in the East. You just never know what can happen. If the juggernauts right now are Baltimore and the Yanks, then you just keep competing for that playoff spot of some type of wild card or whatever. Just get in there, and you just never know. So I think they're competitive enough to be able to fight for that. It's going to be tough, handling the Orioles and the Yankees. So you got to stay healthy, but it'll be interesting. It's always fun to watch. And I know the Red Sox have always been pretty progressive at the trade deadline. So I'm hoping that stays the same and those guys stay a big market team and keep feeding those fans what they want, because it's always great to be a part of a big market team and be competitive every year. And I hope the Red Sox stay that way.
Well, Bill, I want to thank you. And again, we know of Bobby Bonilla Day. We have Bill Mueller Day here on July 29th of every single year when we celebrate the 2 Grand Slams. Wish we could give out $1 million every year, but it's like. But thanks for taking a few minutes out. Would you like to say anything to the fans back in Boston that are here watching this? What would you like to say to them as you say goodbye?
Always, it's one of the best places in the world to be able to be a player and play a game, and I was very grateful for them and grateful for the experience there, and I'm just happy that we Theo and everybody put such a great team together that we could be competitive and break the curse and do that for the city and for Boston. So just very fortunate and it's hard not to love the Boston Red Sox. So